Good afternoon. Can I get everybody's attention, please? Can I get everybody's attention? First of all, continue to eat. We promised to get you out of here at 1:30. We realize that everybody is busy. For those of you that had not been to Lundana before, welcome. Lundana has been a partner since they opened with the DuLong Scholarship Luncheon, and I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the Burlington Area Chamber of Commerce to Lundana and Shannon St. Pierre. We talk a lot about partnerships, and if you have the opportunity where you have to decide where you're going to be spending your money for your luncheons, for your off-site meetings, there should be no better choice than right here, because part of the money that you give in each and every time you come stays in the community, and that's important. So we thank you very much, Lundana. Welcome to the Harold DuLong Scholarship Luncheon. This is the 15th year of the Scholarship Luncheon, and Lundana has done it since they've been opened. All of the proceeds from your attendance today go directly to scholarships. Lundana provides the meal for free. So again, thank you, Lundana, for being a great partner. I'd also like to thank our other sponsors, Reamer and Bronstein, and Oracle. Thank you. You're going to hear a lot about the partnership theme here, and I would be remiss if I didn't call out some dignitaries that could not be here with us today. And they sent their apologies. Both our state senator and our state representative, Cindy Friedman and Ken Gordon, expressed their condolences not being able to be here. They're working on the state budget and actually trying to get us some money for transportation to help the restaurant industry. So we thank them for their, we thanked them. Oh, we're back. We're back. Partnerships are the whole sense behind the chamber. Partnerships and connections. There is strength in numbers. Everyone has challenges, unique challenges among themselves, but the chamber realizes that we work on the challenges of the business community and the residential communities of the areas that we serve. We're very fortunate to have partners like yourselves in this room, and there are some that I'd like to call attention to. One specifically, I don't know if you get local papers or if you haven't been paying attention. We were fortunate enough this year, Massachusetts recognized Superintendent of the Year, our own Dr. Eric Conti. The number one challenge that we have from all of the employers and the businesses in this area is that educated workforce. We have a number of partnerships with the employers, but we also have them with the educational institutions that are located right here in Burlington, plus off-site. It starts at K through 12. And we are very fortunate to have partners in the Burlington school system and some of the other school systems nearby. But I want to ask Dr. Conti to come up here for just a moment, after you swallow whatever it is that you're chewing on. This is suitable for framing, by the way. This is our Public-Private Partnership Award, and it acknowledges that Superintendent of Burlington Public Schools, Dr. Eric Conti, has been recognized for outstanding achievements in partnerships with employers and organizations in the greater Burlington area. We can't do it alone, and we thank Eric for the parts that he contributes. For a second. Suitable for framing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Conti. What we're seeing for the first time ever is school debt is at the ultimate high right now. People who are coming through secondary education are burdened with school debt that previous generations did not experience. How do we get that help? Through things like the Burlington Area Chamber of Commerce Scholarship Luncheon, by having a great local school system that gives children and graduating seniors an opportunity to go to the school of their choice, to have a chance to be able to be successful, and have other employers in the area willing to take them on as employers is huge to keeping this economy viable going forward. It's through the partnership and cooperation of the businesses like yourselves, being in this room today, understanding that the future is happening right before our eyes. I'll be honest that I didn't know Harold well, but I do see his work continuing through the efforts of Reamer and Bronstein, through our administration at the town, and through the Chamber of Commerce, to understand that if you build it, they will come, and we have to make sure that they continue to locate here. I want to talk a little quickly about our keynote speaker. And I've got a short bio here. Dr. David Luzzi is a Vice President of the Northeastern University Innovation Campus here in Burlington. Some great things going on there, and he's going to let us know a little bit about them. He's the Vice Provost for Research, Innovation, and Development. He's the Chairman of the Board at KRI at Northeastern University, LLC, and the former Dean of Engineering. He is a Professor of Mechanical and Industrial Engineering. He leads the university's large DoD programs in expeditionary cyber, counter-UAS, expeditionary maneuver, and additive manufacturing, and the corporate partnerships on the ICBM. With Dr. George Costas, Dr. Luzzi designed and built the Costas Research Institute. As a professor, Dr. Luzzi has extensive teaching and research experience in materials, nanoscience, and atomic level structure and processes. His research program executes projects for the Army, Navy, Air Force, NATO, National Science Foundation, NASA, the European Union, and other international federal and state agencies and corporations. Katie, I think you mixed up my bio with his. Dr. Luzzi has been awarded the U.S. Air Force Meritorious Civilian Service Award, the Ellis Island Medal of Honor, and the George Heimler Award for Research and Innovation. I give you Dr. David Luzzi.
Whenever I hear that, I just also hear my wife. So thank you very much for that very gracious and long introduction. I'm here today to talk to you about something that is known to some people and not as known to other people, but the fact of the matter is Northeastern University, which is, of course, known to a lot of people in this region.
It's working, you can hear me.
Northeastern University, which is known to a lot of people in the region, has grown up and become something that is truly an international jewel and a great enterprise in higher education. So Northeastern University, to give you just a little bit of history here, and I'll very quickly get to the Burlington connection, but Northeastern University might be the only university in the world that was established as the result of street riots. So in higher education, we typically do not condone street riots unless those street riots are about access to higher education. But back in the late 1800s, the sons, because daughters were not in until 1943, but the sons of basically Irish and Italian immigrants rioted in the streets of Boston because back then there was no such, we talked about student debt today, which is a crisis that is currently happening. Back then, there wasn't financial aid, and students, sons of immigrants really didn't have access to higher education. So Northeastern University was created as a night school with the YMCA back in 1898. We can think about how it was created. It was created by some very young faculty from Harvard and MIT. It had two majors. One was automobile engineering, so you can read that as the old fogies at MIT didn't think the automobile was going to amount to anything in 1898. The horse was going to be around forever. And the firebrand, revolutionary young faculty said, to heck with this, we're going to go create our own. And then the other one was law. So automobile engineering and law, perfect ecosystem. But in any case, the university adopted a model of education, a very early adopter called cooperative education, where students would go out into industry in 1909, and that allowed the university to go from being a night school, which it was at that time, to being one in which the students could actually attend during the day, and then they worked half-time and they went to school half-time. Over the years, cooperative education has become pedagogically core to what Northeastern does because of the recognition of the value of experiential learning to higher education. And now it is an absolute jewel. It is the reason why Northeastern has done so extraordinarily well, just so we now have co-op at the undergraduate and graduate level. And many, many Burlington area students have gone through. Has anybody in this room gone to Northeastern University and done co-op? Yeah. So, yes. We have, always we find audiences where we have Northeastern alums who have had the experience of co-op. Throughout this economic crisis of the 2000s, we had more demand for our students than we had supply, and that is true every year of our history. More demand than supply of students. So, 1960s, Northeastern was expanding its reach in research, and it entered into a deal with the U.S. Army to take over a Nike missile base, which that's what no trees, amazing, farmland back then. This was the Nike missile base sitting up on a hilltop in Burlington here on South Bedford Road. And the university got the campus from the Army for $1. And the deal, the contract we have with the Army, with the federal government, is if we sell the land, all capital gains goes to the federal government. So our principal is $1, so it's pretty clear that we're going to be keeping this campus. So this campus educated a huge number of people on the high-tech corridor. That's really what its role was for many years. There are some tremendously successful folks, including when I was Dean of Engineering at Northeastern, I built a Dean's Council West in Silicon Valley, which had cowboys of Silicon Valley that were in the computer industry in the early days here, got their master's degrees on the Burlington campus, and then got sucked into the vortex of Silicon Valley as that grew. Truly incredible history, and someday we should write a history about what has gone through Burlington in terms of impact around the country. So Northeastern had this campus, and then as education became more and more online, especially graduate education, the campus was mothballed for a few years, and then a few years ago, George Costas, who is an alumnus of the University, he died 2 years ago. George Costas, class of 1943, that was World War II, and he was in the program that was famous at that time. The U.S. Navy had officer candidates go and get their undergraduate degree, and then immediately after graduation, they were in the Navy, become officers, and out to sea. So he was going to the Navy, and he did a senior design project in chemical engineering, made a presentation in a regional conference, and in the audience was a colonel from the Army who came up to him and said, "Son, you're coming to work for me." And he said, "Sorry, sir, but I'm going in the Navy. I'm committed to the Navy." And the colonel said, "You are no longer in the Navy." And a week later, he got a letter releasing him from the Navy and assigning him to the synthetic rubber program. So the synthetic rubber program was the Manhattan Project that nobody knows about. It was the Manhattan Project, of course, for the nuclear, for the atomic bomb, was the thing that everybody knows about. But the Japanese had essentially cornered the supply of natural rubber around the world by taking all the land in Southeast Asia. The U.S. was in crisis and spun up in a few years a complete new industry based on making rubber out of barrels of oil. So really a tremendous, tremendous story that doesn't get told enough. But he was immediately after graduation out to Akron, Ohio for a few weeks of study, down to Baytown, Texas. And later that year, they had, from a converted factory, they had batches of synthetic rubber coming out of that factory. The oldest person in that factory, the director of that factory, was 26 years old. I mean, just, different times. Really impressive. So, George Costas, how many people here have seen the movie Graduate? So if, as a result of your service during World War II, you get into this little thing called petrochemicals, because synthetic rubber is petrochemicals. Remember from The Graduate? Plastics, right? Well, George Costas was in the early days of plastics. He built up the plastics business of a company called Continental Oil, which became Conoco and then ConocoPhillips. You know, he did everything you do in Texas when you have money. He drilled for oil. I learned a lot about that business. It's a fascinating business. I highly recommend it if you can afford it. But anyway, so George Costas became very, you know, his service to the country during World War II, his love for the country, and then post 9/11 became convinced that the universities of the country needed to do a better job engaging with the national security enterprise of the nation. And we got into a conversation, and we hit it off really well because of my experience. I was Science and Technology Chair of the Air Force Scientific Advisory Board, so I've been working with the Department of Defense as an academic for quite a few years. And we conceptualized this new institute that would be a trusted environment, but in a campus where we would be able to have it open, so we would have a greater breadth of intellectual capability, be able to be attracted to that campus, to work with government and industry. And you mentioned partnership, and that has been the story. If there's something going on here in Burlington, it is all about partnership, and that's what's going on in this campus right now. So this is the campus as it started out. I just have very few slides to show you what we have here, but this is what's going on up on that hill in Burlington right now. So this is the campus. It's 14 acres. This is the original Army barracks building. Right here is the original missile maintenance shed, and these are the two silos for the missiles. So the silos were horizontal, and they opened up, the missile elevated, fired up to go up over Canada and shoot down Soviet bombers that were carrying nuclear bombs. That was the role of the Nike missile program. So it was an anti-aircraft defense program. Underneath both of these silos is 50-foot by 72-foot deeply buried bunkers. So we have two deeply buried bunkers on campus, which in our mind is interesting from an experimental laboratory point of view, so we are keeping that as a resource for the future. We have the original barracks building still existing, and then the university built Elliott Hall here in the 1960s to do education. And that was the state of the campus. And then this is the Costas Research Institute that George Costas gave a gift to the university to build. It is a secure facility, so we're able to have, in all that a security facility entails, and we're able to have, we're able to have the conversations with government and industry in the right environments to understand what it is that we need to do to further the technology of the nation in very important areas of national and homeland security. So the campus has attracted some great leaders. So I think all of you have met Peter Boynton, and Peter Boynton here is the CEO of the wholly owned subsidiary of Northeastern, which is the Costas KRI at Northeastern University LLC. It is the organization that manages the whole secure footprint and activities of the university. Peter is a 30-year veteran of the Coast Guard, and he has been the Commissioner of Homeland Security for the state of Connecticut. So really a deeply experienced leader who has been very important in terms of building out programs at Northeastern. And we have other leaders that we've been able to attract to the university as a result of this. So the Costas Institute has a lot of special facilities and has companies on campus, et cetera. And as we've built on, we're not outgrown, we've filled the Costas Institute, and as a, that's the Costas Institute. And as a result, we are now building, a bigger building on campus. So this is what we call Building 5. Anybody who has, we will give you many, many votes, one vote per dollar, in terms of what the name of this building might be. But in any case, we are a university, so, but you know, right today it's all about student scholarship, which by the way is also very important to universities. So in any case, Building 5 is 105,000 square feet. Costas Institute is 70,000 square feet, so about 1.5 times the size. And this building will have space for partnerships and some special facilities. On the bottom floor on this side is a very large makerspace that we're building. Like everything we do on campus, it's going to be a facility that has very special capabilities to address certain aspects, but it will also have the ability to house groups that get involved in ideation and 3D printing and all the things that you do today in additive manufacturing. And that's another aspect of the campus that we think is very important, and that is outreach to the high schools, for example. So engaging with robotics clubs, maker clubs, anything we can do to foster the development of kids into really informed and creative forces is something that, of course, we will engage in. And we have our folks, our technical staff on campus enthusiastically ready to engage, as well as, by the way, employees of the companies on campus, also enthusiastically ready to engage with students going forward. So building 5. So on the campus, we have a lot, as I said, very special facilities. I'm going to start from the right and go around. It's not all about national security. So up on the top right here, we have the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Regulatory Harmonization Steering Committee Center of Excellence in Biotherapeutics. So let me cut this down to the Reader's Digest version. How many people here remember the thalidomide? Well, not remember, that's too long ago. How many people here know the history of thalidomide? Okay, so thalidomide, flipper babies, thalidomide was a great drug, a fabulous drug that really solved morning sickness for cases where women had severe morning sickness. The drug was a small molecule, and it was a spiral drug. So its structure was a spiral. And the problem with that drug and the production of that drug was the ability for the companies to distinguish between the right-handed screw molecule and the left-handed screw molecule version was not as good as it needed to be. So they couldn't do it by molecular weight. The molecular weight was identical. The problem was the wrong chirality drug, the wrong chirality molecule shut down growth at the peripheries of limbs, okay? So those who took the drug and got too much of the wrong chirality version of that molecule ended up having severely deformed children. So the challenge going forward, of course, Massachusetts is a biotech center of the world. The challenge going forward as we get into protein-based molecules, which are protein-based drugs, which are far more complicated than small molecules, is how do we avoid thalidomide event going forward. Northeastern has been a leading institution in bioanalytics for many, many decades. And as a result, we are now the only internationally certified center of excellence to train regulators from around the world. We also train industry, and we also develop new science of bioanalytics for the drug industry. But this is now housed on the Burlington campus. It's moving into the new building. It's in Elderville right now. It's moving into the new building. We're expanding the fields of expertise that we're in, and we just got a $4 million grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to expand this center of excellence to cover biomanufacturing. So we're now going to have a biomanufacturing facility up on the campus to develop best principles for these protein, and now as we go further on, cellular-based. So medicines of the future are now going to start being cell-based medicines, okay? So not just, for coating on your face, it is actually going to be real therapies for inside the body. And we are a leading center of that, and that is going on in Burlington up on that hill. We have over 20 companies active on campus right now. This is just a sign from one of them. Rogers is a materials company. We have lots of folks on campus, and we now have 2 major installments of the U.S. government on campus. So we have Army Research Laboratory Northeast, so the Army Research Lab Extended Campus is in Burlington here, and now the Air Force has moved its counter-UAS. So everybody knows about these small drones. Has anybody heard about the Kalashnikov drone? Maybe I shouldn't tell you. This is too scary a story. Okay. There was an expo in Dubai. Kalashnikov makes the famous AK-47, the most common rifle in the world. Okay? It's a Russian company. It's a Russian company slightly low on the ethics scale. Okay. The Kalashnikov introduced at that conference, that tech show in Dubai, a drone, unmanned aerial system, so a little flying vehicle that lasts a half hour on its battery. It flies 80 miles an hour, so that's a 40-mile range, and it carries 6 kilograms of C4 explosive. 6 pounds of C4 explosive, 3 kilograms of C4 explosive. It has GPS guidance, but it also at the end switches to camera-based target recognition. So you can put in a picture of whatever you want to go for, send it to its GPS coordinates 40 miles away, and have it dive in, and it's a suicide drone. So Kalashnikov is bringing this forward, and obviously the U.S. military is ramping up a very strong response in terms of developing technologies to detect and counter these small drones, because this is the future that we're going. Like every technology, the upside, commercial upside from small drone technology is going to be profound. And we're talking internet-type scale of impact in terms of the commercial, for flying into damaged buildings, for rescue of people, for doing all of that type of thing that are all very positive. It's going to be fabulous technology. But every technology has its flip side. So we have a big program on counter-UAS. The Air Force is moving all of this effort for rapid development of these technologies here onto the campus in Burlington. Okay, next one. We have the largest strong floor east of the National Earthquake Center, where we can test very large structures for resilience against man-made threats or human nature-based threats. So this is a very large facility. We like to say we go over 11 orders of magnitude, because also on this campus we have electron microscopes that can do studies at the atomic scale. So we do big structures, we do very small things, and we develop nanotechnologies, we develop big technologies. This is additive manufacturing, laser-assisted cold spray. Classic example of what a university can do. We have an Army project that funds cold spray, which is a way to repair and refurbish metallic-based systems. So any kind of metallic structure, a ship, a plane, anything like that. And we have a nearby company, not in Burlington, IPG Photonics is a laser company. This is a laser right here, so we are the only university in the country right now that is working on laser-assisted cold spray. Real potential for the future. Coming in October is Coliseum. Northeastern won the competition for the biggest simulator in the world to simulate radio frequency. Think of the 5G world that we're going to. How do you really study and understand that 5G world to get the maximum benefit out of it? DARPA built the world's largest simulation engine for that because they ran one of their competitions. It's going to end in October, this competition. Northeastern's in the finals. The previous version of this competition in 2013, Northeastern actually won. We entered the competition to win this simulation engine, which is a big rack of computers with not just a typical rack of computers, very specialized. So Coliseum, this is classic DARPA marketing here with the Coliseum there, but Coliseum will be arriving on the campus in October. And finally, this is the newest facility that I'm going to show based on a movie, I think. Let me go one more thing. Before we go, I'll come back to that. So this is the Makerspace under construction right now. This is the barracks building. We have 12 small companies in that building. That building is now full. The principle on the campus is get our small companies into as cheap space as possible. So we're using the old legacy buildings for that purpose. And it's working out really well. And we've now had a couple of companies that have graduated. So the companies are on campus in their research and development phase, because that's what we are. We're a research and development shop. And then the idea is as they move and start having product, then they end up moving off the campus into industrial space, etc. That's Elliott Hall, picture from yesterday. So that's a legacy picture of Elliott Hall. This wing of Elliott Hall is the classroom wing. Right now the university is bringing that building up to date in terms of ADA for access and also for fire prevention systems. So once it's up to date, then that wing of the building on the right is going to become the next phase of the incubator space for companies. So it's about 2.5. We should have the capacity for about 40 companies 40 small companies on campus. And then on the left side, there's a large auditorium there that I'm going to show you about in a second, and I think that's it, Matt. So why don't we flip it and I'll show. I have a 1-minute movie which will do a better job explaining this new facility than.
Welcome to the Northeastern University Innovation Campus at Burlington, Massachusetts, and the Expeditionary Cyber and Unmanned Aircraft Systems Lab.
What we have just entered is a brand new state-of-the-art anechoic chamber in Faraday cage. It's a 50-foot by 50-foot by 22-foot tall structure, purpose-built for doing research on unmanned and autonomous vehicles.
It's a very unique facility in the sense that it's the only facility in the nation that allows you to experiment with systems of unmanned vehicles and unmanned aerial systems, both indoor and outdoor.
So you can seamlessly transition from the outdoors to the indoors.
The fact that there is complete shielding of RF signals in this space allows us to perform very exciting research.
The connection between the hardware and software is much closer. Many of the attacks we study, and as a result, many of the ways in which we try to make things safer, actually have to do with interactions with physical environment. Ground drones, air drones, all that stuff. Those are perfect examples of, you might call, cyber-physical systems, where these physical effects really have a profound effect on the underlying cybersecurity.
This facility has an amazing array of software radios connected to antennas on the ceiling. It has this system of cameras that can track at the millimeter level. In addition to that, it's an anechoic chamber. Put all these things together, you get a unique facility in the nation, probably worldwide.
So what you have going on here in Burlington is a place where we bring together industry, government, universities to work on critical problems for national security, homeland security, world health, and also, of course, one of the very important things is to be an economic engine and driver. We are at the early stage of the technologies and always looking for partners to help us bridge that through to the marketplace. Universities are not your experts at bringing things out into the marketplace, except education products. But other than education products, we really rely on the corporate partners, and very often the government is that lead customer that enables us to really push the boundaries of technology to develop those very advanced new systems and in a way that is cost effective to get those moving towards the marketplace. So with that, I'm going to get off the stage here, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Doctor. It's going to be a test on this later. I hope you're paying attention. There are some exciting things happening here in the greater Burlington area. We hear a lot of "not in my backyard." Personally, I am thankful that this is right in our backyard, and we need to take advantage of the opportunities that we have here. We talk about partnerships, we talk about collaboration. This is where it starts. As companies come off of the campus, and they have to once they get to that commercial stage, we work with Peter. We have a group of local people who actually take the companies and foster that relationship to get them to hopefully locate in this area. This is the future. It's right here in Burlington, and we hope that this continues to be a success for us. He challenged your mind. The next segment is going to challenge your heart. We've been very fortunate to have a great partner in Reamer and Bronstein, and in memory of Harold DuLong, stepping up to the plate to get involved with scholarships. Everybody was here today for lunch. There are opportunities for you to continue to be part of the funding source for local high school graduates. As I said earlier, the challenge has never been harder to try to afford school. Employers are now, in some cases, taking on a portion of that debt to get employees to come and work at their location. We want to give them the greatest start, and we've already shown that through the K through 12 education that they're getting here, people are getting that edge that they need. We want to make sure that they have the financial edge that they need too. So if anyone, your company wants to get involved with the scholarship program, please let us know, and we'll add that to today's take on the scholarship. We would be giving that to scholars as a scholarship program as they graduate this year, 2019. I would like to call to the table our co-chairs of the board, Sonia Rollins and Bob Buckley, to talk a little bit about Harold and what this program has meant.
Good afternoon, everybody. I say this every year. We're starting to sound like a broken record, but this remains one of my favorite luncheons because it helps raise funds for something that's very vital, I think, as Rick says, continuing education, I think we all know has merit, and to be able to give back to the community and to give back to the students who are going to school in this community has great value, I guess, for lack of a better term. I also love to talk about this event because it always reminds me of a gentleman who I met when I was younger. Right, I met him when I was 10. No, I met him when I first came into Burlington and started getting involved with the Chamber. And at the time, the Chamber was the BBRT, for those of us who are going to mark ourselves, right? So Harold was the chairman of the round table. And I just loved being in a room with him, to be honest. He was a breath of fresh air and always had a great idea and always had a good joke to go with it. And it's interesting because Anne-Marie, who will come up and say hello as well, reminded me today that it's been 15 years. 15 years ago, we had started these, Harold passed away, and it was a huge loss to the community, but what I love about this event is it gives us an opportunity to remember how much he contributed to Burlington, how much he contributed to the firm, how much he contributed, quite frankly, to everybody who knew him. And whether you knew him for a minute or you knew him all your life, you were touched by greatness. That same greatness continues with the team at Reamer and Bronstein, quite frankly, and we were talking about it today, 15 years, with the donations that Reamer has given to the Harold DuLong Scholarship Foundation. I'm proud to tell you the firm has done over $150,000 to graduating high school students. Yeah, I know, don't tell Bob. Yeah, so it's really impressive because when you think about the amount of years where they give donations over and over again, they're not only doing it in his honor, which is worthy in itself, but they are making a statement in what they believe the youth of this community can and will do. So I am always proud to stand up here and welcome my co-chair, Bob Buckley, who's the senior partner of Reamer and Bronstein. Thank you to Mark Vaughn, who is also here, Melissa Cushing, who is here. I know I'm missing everybody. There's a table full of Reamer people. Thank you for being here, and thank you to Harold's sister for always joining us. It's just wonderful to be able to be in a room, have great food. Landana's, I can't thank you, where's Shannon, enough, because it's never a question. We call, we schedule the date, it's never a question when they want to do it, and they always accommodate. So with that, I am going to pass it over to Bob Buckley. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. A couple things before I make a couple comments about Harold, which I could go on all day, but I'd like Lorraine and Terry to stand up. Now, I'm going to show my age. These were the first, I've been told by personnel that I'm not supposed to say this, they were the secretaries of Harold. Started out when Harold, I guess the new terminology is administrative assistants, right? And both of them have kept me in line over the years, and it's been fun. And I also want to acknowledge two things with you, David, one good, one bad. The good, we have two people in the audience here who work there. You-know-what's off to get your building done, and that was Christine Hung and Melissa Cushing. It was one of the more... And now the bad.
In the end of your talk.
Right. I grew up in love with the movie The Graduate. So now, when I see that movie, instead of Mrs. Robinson and Elaine, I'm going to think of Dr. Costas and plastics. How could you do that? There's something wrong with academia if that's where you're going. But in all honesty, Mark and I and Terry and Lorraine all had the privilege of working with Harold, and as Sonia would say, there was never a dull moment. Harold had one basic philosophy, and I've said this year in, year out, is, always try to be different, try to think of things in a different way. And through that effort, you'd be surprised what creativity can come out of the the thought process. And obviously Northeastern is doing the same thing. I know he would be thrilled if he saw what's going on in town, the creativity. It's certainly above my level of understanding, but when I went over there a few times with Peter to go through the tours, it's amazing what's going on in this community and at Northeastern, and the talent that not only is attracting there, but is also going to spawn other industries and supporting businesses in the community. And for that, we thank you. We hope that we can work with you to go forward to make it even better. And we hope that through the scholarship programs that we have in town, that we can provide you with that natural resource, the people, to even make it even, more exciting 10, 15, 20 years from now. So thank you very much. And I ask you to work with the academic group over here at the high school to encourage them to explore programs, explore with Northeastern, and good things will happen. Thank you.
Okay, so we always love to hear from Harold's family, and Anne-Marie is always so good to join us every year. So if you'll join me in welcoming Anne-Marie Comer.
Well, thank you. And I have to say, when the world ends, I want to be at Northeastern because I'm going to be in the bunker. Everything's safe. Who knew? I mean, this is crazy. And then when you were talking about the plastics, I was thinking of the rubber, Son of Flubber. Remember that movie, the Disney?
I was thinking of Mrs. Robinson.
You were thinking of Mrs. Robinson. Well, anyhow, thank you. I just so appreciative, as Sonia has said. This is an event that I just love to come to. Thank you for your efforts and for your support of the Scholarship Foundation in Harold's memory. It's been 15 years. I can't believe the time has gone. He is with us, and is with us all because you're represented here. He was certainly a character. He, as Kevin and I were talking earlier, he always did what was best for the town. He tried. They may have been disagreements. Some people may disagree, but I think if I look around the town and see all of the developments and things that he initiated and helped with your support, it worked, and he always had the best interests of Burlington at heart. He was from Burlington. A little story was that he was 12 when he moved to Burlington, went to Burlington School Systems. He worked at Gibbons Farm. He worked helping with the bread route with my uncle. He did everything he could to establish himself because our family situation was such that he was born in 1941, so he's a little older than I, a few years, not to say how old I am. But at the time, his dad had passed away of leukemia before he was born. So my mother had an infant with no parent. So she moved back to the homestead in Woburn, married my dad in 51, and moved to Burlington. So Harold became a Burlingtonite at the age of 12 and always felt that this was his home and his establishment, and did everything he could. And education was always so important. So he would be so thrilled to hear about all the innovation that's going on in Northeastern, and he always felt that education was most important. No matter what, go to school, try to do your best, and this event today will certainly help others reach that goal and career. So again, thank you to Landanas. Thank you to all for being here. I love the event, to bring him back to life as best we can and keep his memory alive. So for that, thank you.
All right, I get the good fortune of telling you there's dessert in the other room. So to your right, please help yourself. There's coffee, there's dessert. And thank you again all for coming. You could also golf. Golf tournament's coming up May 6th. Get your foursome together. We don't want to miss it. Andover Country Club, that helps raise money for the Chamber and its Charitable Foundation. So I hope you'll join us May 6th. We will see you soon. Please enjoy dessert, and thank you very much for coming.